Buffalo or what?
What's that?
What's the latest?
I have no idea. You know.
You guys had cleaned up some of the run defense for a
Yeah.
couple weeks, and then a little bit of a setback last week. We were talking to Greg before. He said some of it came down to guys not sticking to the assignment. Was that one of the major issues this time?
A little bit of everything. And it was a hard offense, the game plan for. When you watched them, it was like different. They were doing different things versus different teams. So you had to prepare for a lot. So really tried to keep the menu small. And I felt like the first half they were making some plays, but I think it was 10-7 with a minute 22 left, and they had that 2-minute drive. So I felt like they were doing some things, but I felt like we had them under control. But the end of the half, the touchdown, and coming out the third quarter, they went right down the field. And that changed the game for us.
Do you feel like you maybe overemphasized the pass because of Hill and Waddle, and they got you?
No. I think we do a good job dealing with the runs that we feel like we're going to get. So there's balance, but it's not. We know we have to defend both.
Let's talk about, like JJ3 sort of started talking about it a little bit, and Miles even after the game, about playing with more reckless abandon, or I don't know if that's the word, but
Yeah.
playing more physical, playing faster, cutting it loose, and all those kinds of things. Is that something that is part game plan and part player, or have they been hesitant and uptight, or how do you describe that?
No, our mentality is always to try to play physical. That's part of football. So we talk to those guys about it all the time. But I think, the nature of what they were doing, you got a lot of stuff, going across your face. I think this caused a little confusion for us at times. At times we played really well, at times we didn't. But anything you do defensively, you want to be able to play fast and physical.
So do you expect to get back to that against the Bills? I mean, like, really come out fast if you're not playing on snow.
Yeah, no, that's the plan every week,
Back and watch it. What happened with Jadeveon Miles? It just didn't seem like they were able to have the impact that we've become accustomed to have. Is that more Miami and scheming for them, or what did you see there?
Yeah, offensively, again, they do good things scheme-wise. You have to get them to, like 2nd and 7+, or you have to get them to 3rd and long. The third downs we had early in the game, we stopped the first third down. It was a 3-yard pass, and the ball's coming out of his hand. And on 2nd down, it was a lot of play action. So it was like max protection for him. So you have to get him out of those situations so you can be more creative what you're trying to do on passing situations and create one-on-ones. So didn't do a good enough job on 1st and 2nd down to put us in position to rush on 3rd down.
Preparing for potentially two different styles of game based on whether you're in wintry conditions in Buffalo or if it gets moved?
Yes.
How hard is that?
We have some of those calls pretty much, based on the situation. So there might be a few more calls we would add, but you definitely have to prepare if the weather's really bad to potentially get more run game.
JJ3 talked about when you face an unfamiliar opponent, he feels like maybe you guys haven't been the best at adjusting in game to what they're doing. I guess do you agree with that, and how tough it is? Because you play well against Baltimore and Cincinnati, you see multiple times a year. But
Yes.
when you see a new team, obviously you see a bunch of those in a year. So how do you have to be better at handling that?
Yeah, I think that's part of it. We always try to do our best in terms of what we see and what we're doing. And that's why that last game said it was, normal football, it was 10-7. So when you go in, it's 10-7, you know what the big plays are, you address those, and then you adjust the defense. But it wasn't like the game was out of control in the first half, and there was a lot of things that we had to change. It was just kind of what direction do we want to bring things based on what they were doing. So that's something we're aware of, that, you try to do the best job you can at halftime. And I felt like we have done that at times, but at other times, this didn't seem to work.
Some of the guys talked this week about more film study together, and some of the things that you guys did as a defense.
Yeah.
Was that coaches involved in that, and players too, or players taking it upon themselves to do extra?
No, I think that's more player related. Just, whether they want to get together by position group and watch tape. I know Miles has talked about that. But we always do our presentations, Different places I've been, sometimes you don't do any presentations, sometimes you do too much, but we always try to present the different breakdown areas so we can make our points of emphasis in terms of what they're doing run-wise, what they're doing in the passing game.
Preparing for Josh Allen, given his skill set and his size, and how tough of an assignment that is.
Yeah, he's tough to deal with. You see him on tape, you cover guys up, and then he scrambles. And, if you bring pressure, then he's making throws. He can throw the ball, forever, and just flicking it. But you have to have multiple things defensively to deal with them. But at the same time, there's going to be a few times where he's going to get loose. So we just have to be disciplined with our rush lanes. We have to be disciplined with our coverage if he does scramble. Because like I said, he's scrambling and throwing the ball 60 yards downfield.
The issues with the run defense this year, do you think these guys can, kind of have that short memory that you're talking about, where some of these plays will just get away from you with the quarterback like that, but moving on to the next one?
Yeah, no, I think it's just part of week to week being in the NFL, because every week it's a different matchup. So what they're doing offensively is not the same with what we saw last week. There's a few things, but not like we saw last week. So you just try to prepare them for, the challenges you're going to see. And, you kind of put the other game away.
This before, but have you found yourself making adjustments, not just obviously in game, but when you're here in the facilities with the meetings, with learning different guys and how they learn from you? Have you found yourself making adjustments in regards to that?
If I'm answering your question correctly, you always try to put your playmakers in position. So for us, that's part of what we game plan. Trying to get certain guys one-on-one, whether it's pressure, trying to get guys certain one-on-ones if they're matching up in man coverage. So we always think that way. I think that way in terms of the game plan. And then during the game, it's just you're making adjustments off of what's happening to you. What you're struggling with, things that you're doing well, try to do more of it, if that answers your question.
In the meeting rooms even, like with film study, is there a place to make adjustments in the way that guys are learning and understanding what you're trying to give them?
Yeah, so we have our meetings, we do our presentations. At the end of meetings, we go out 15 minutes early and we walk through. So first, second down, we go out and walk through. Third down, on those days we walk through. And then we have our normal walkthrough period after that, where we run plays against our scouts. And then we have a 10-minute period where we're free defensively, where we continue to do walkthrough. Then in practice, we have 2 install periods where we go and just walk through stuff defensively. And then we also have the opportunity at times after our meetings. So there's 4 or 5 opportunities that we've been doing all season, just walking through different things.
How do you handle Allen as a runner when a lot of it's off schedule versus Lamar as a runner when some of it's more designed?
Yeah, it's similar. They do have some design quarterback runs, but that's the thing you see what makes them dangerous. I was at the Senior Bowl. We had him at the quarterback when I was down there, but you can see how big he was then. But this for him, you can see times where he drops back, he sees a hole and he takes off. There's other times where the coverage is good and he's just running sideways, but he's hard to tackle. He's stiff-arming guys. You can't bring him down. And then you have the quarterback design run. So he does a little bit of everything. It's just guys being aware of it, having proper rush lanes, having guys at the second level that have eyes on them in position to chase them down. And you have to mix it up. You have to do a little bit of everything. You're not going to be perfect 100% of the time, but everybody has to be aware of what he does.
Is he a guy you could spy, or is it that the style just kind of too different?
Yeah, and I always say there's things you can do to strengthen yourself defensively, but if you're trying to strengthen yourself in one area, you're weakening yourself in another area. So if you spy, now you have a 3-man rush. You know what I mean? So you have to pick and choose, and that's why, you always just try to have a little bit of mixture of what you're doing defensively.
He's thrown 6 interceptions in the last 3 games, and he's been very vulnerable to mistakes. How do you guys approach that?
Yeah, I mean, you see the turnovers that they created, but I think some of it was situations. It's 4th down, one of the interceptions, and you're going to try to force the ball in there on 4th down. The end of the game against Minnesota, it was a situation where they had to score. So I think some of the interceptions he had was based on the situations they were in. and he had to try to make those throws. But it's something we always talk about, trying to get takeaways. So just playing good coverage, whether it's zone or man, and if the opportunity presents itself, we have to cash in.
After those 2 good games leading into the bye for you guys, how big of a kind of shock was that you didn't play well against Miami as a defense? And then how do you get the guys to recover against, Buffalo offense is really good?
Yeah, honesty. We look at the game, we talk about what we did well, what we didn't do well, things we need to do to fix it, whether it's scheme, whether it's execution. But I just think being honest, and those guys know that from me. I'm just going to tell them the truth, good, bad, doesn't matter. But in this league, you have to move on. And it said each week the challenge is different from what you see offensively. So moving on to Buffalo, we know what those challenges are, and feel like we have a good game plan, and the guys have practiced good so far this week.
Are you aware of the criticism that you take out there on, social media and?
It's part of the business. You know what I mean? And like I said, for me, you can't let it affect you. You can't ride, the emotional roller coaster. I know what type of business I'm in. It's a fair business, but we're in the business of winning, and right now we're not doing it. So, that criticism is going to come. It's deserved in some instances, and I promise you I'm trying to do everything I can to get the thing turned around. But we have to execute, and we have to play better on game day.
Joe, Alex Van Pelt was talking about the possibility of the game being moved somewhere else if the weather's bad enough. He said something like, one thing about COVID is it's made us adaptable.
Yeah.
Do you feel that? Like, has that experience with missing, 20 players and having games pushed back, do you feel like you're more fluid as a coach and as a staff and as a team?
I think for us operating, yes, because we had to do it so much, the first 2 years. Now we have some young guys that haven't experienced that with us. They've experienced it in college. But I think, the previous 2 years have helped prepare you for anything can happen.